The Warhol superstars were a clique surrounding artist Andy Warhol in the 1960s and early 1970s. They appeared in his art and also accompanied him in his social life. Much of his social life, as well as his work life, took place at The Factory, which was his studio in New York City that had 3 separate locations between the years 1962 and 1984. The Factory played host to the superstars and Warhol's frequent famous guests, as well as his art projects. At the same time in the studio, Warhol's art workers would be producing Warhol's silkscreens and lithographs. The first Factory location from 1962 to 1967 was referred to as the Silver Factory because large amounts of silver foil had been applied to the walls and ceilings. Some Warhol superstars to emerge from this period were some of the most famous, such as Edie Sedgwick, Nico, Bridget Berlin, Paul America, and Billy Name. In some of the later films, Andy Warhol started working with director Paul Morrissey. This ongoing collaboration brought in new superstars like Joe D'Alessandro, Penny Arcade, and Sylvia Miles. Then, in 1970 and 71, Morrissey became one of the first film directors to cast a trans woman in a leading role in 2 of his films. Holly Woodlawn in the film Trash, and then again in Women in Revolt, this time joined by Jackie Curtis and Candy Darling. Curtis and Darling had both made their film debuts in Andy Warhol's Flesh from 1968, which was also directed by Morrissey. It is reported that around the same time, Andy had been developing a growing fascination with trans women, and he elevated Jackie Curtis, Candy Darling, and Holly Woodlawn to superstar status. Security around the Factory tightened, and Andy Warhol became less accessible publicly after he was shot by Valerie Solanas in 1968. Solanas had appeared in 2 of Warhol's films, I, A Man, and Bike Boy, both in 1967. Although she received a 3-year sentence, after her release on bail during Christmas of 1968, Solanas called the Factory. Andy had answered the phone, and after wishing him a Merry Christmas, she threatened him again if he didn't comply with her demands. These were an appearance on The Johnny Carson Show, $25,000 in cash, and the publication of her Scum manifesto in the Daily News. She was rearrested and later pleaded guilty to first-degree assault. The attack permanently changed both Warhol and his art, and he spent the rest of his life fearing that Solanas would attack him again. In early September of 1974, Andy Warhol moved his factory to its 3rd location at 860 Broadway. Paul Morrissey no longer had a desk at the new factory, nor did he have any position in Warhol's new company. Andy Warhol Films, Inc. was now the only copyright owner of the movies that Morrissey and Warhol had made together. Although this new factory location was bigger than the previous version, not much filming would happen here. In fact, by 1984, when Warhol removed his remaining ventures to a conventional office building, there were no longer any films being made. And with Warhol becoming less and less socially accessible, the chapter on the Warhol superstars had come to a close. Well, that's pretty much all for today. I want to thank you guys for watching. Like this video if you want to see more uploads on the Warhol superstars. Click the kitty to subscribe. Let me know if I missed anything in this video in the comment section below, and I will see you guys again for my next upload.